Back? Do I need to scream louder? No? Okay, excellent. So welcome to creating a high quality application and exploring funding opportunities here at uLethbridge. Thanks for joining us this morning. And just to mention, we are live as well. So the process for this presentation is we're going to be talking about this topic, and then at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. So if you could please hold your questions until the very end, that would be much appreciated. All right. So to start off with, my name is Viviana Lartiga. I'm here with my colleagues Jaime Iwaasa and Dr. Robert Wood, and we are with the School of Graduate Studies. And so if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, you can feel free to contact us at the website posted there, as well as the phone number for your information. Okay. So for the agenda today, slight introduction with a talk on admission requirements and the application procedure, and then funding information and opportunities, and then as I mentioned, there will be a Q&A at the very end. So before we dive into the admission requirements and funding, I'd like to give you some information about our graduate programs and what the University of Lethbridge has to offer you. We encourage you to visit the booths that are around campus today, specifically the School of Grad Studies booth that is in the Sport and Wellness foyer during the open house. So the University of Lethbridge is one of Canada's top-ranked universities and leading research institutions. It is one of the 4 comprehensive academic and research institutions in Alberta. So there's only 4 of us within this province. As a graduate student at the University of Lethbridge, you'll find yourself at the center of a student-focused environment that nurtures innovation, critical thinking, and creativity. So at the foundation of our graduate program is a multidisciplinary and personalized experience. So there's a collaborative, we like to promote this collaborative environment between our faculty and the students. Okay. So in that, we are committed to helping every one of you thrive from the moment that you begin your program here in the graduate studies. So that entails funding opportunities that we'll discuss a little later on. All right. So who you learn from shapes how you learn. At uLethbridge, you'll work side by side with some of the best minds from around the globe. So a lot of our faculty members are from various parts of the world, essentially. Our experts and researchers are working to find answers that are applicable to real-world situations and problems. At uLethbridge, you are viewed as a partner, okay, and as a colleague, and are given a variety of opportunities to collaborate and share your ideas as well. All right. So some of our faculty members, as you can see here, Dr. Paul Vassie, professor in the Department of Psychology, filmed a segment for National Geographic documentary, which I'm pretty sure you can get access to now. And Dr. Jennifer Mather, she's a professor in the Department of Psychology, was named this year's Distinguished Teaching Award winner. Dr. Jean Harrowing, professor in the Faculty of Health Sciences, was one of 100 nurses who received a Centennial Award from the College of Registered Nurses in Alberta. And Dr. Chris Hopkinson, professor of the Department of Geography, has been named one of the country's 100 greatest explorers in 2015 by Canadian Geographic magazine. So lots of diversity and lots of great experience from our faculty members. So research centers and institutes. As you can see, there's a number of them listed here. At the U of L, faculties aren't silos. We don't operate as such. Our size, and particularly our culture, create a multidisciplinary learning environment that's evident in our research, teaching, and programs. So this university is home to research centers and institutions that bring leading researchers together from across a variety of disciplines to address, like I mentioned before, the issues that are affecting our world today. Okay. So one of our upcoming research institutions is the Destination Project. I'm sure you've heard about it for the last year anyways, in the news, and you can actually see it being built from the ground up. So the U of L will be home soon to a new science and academic building. This will be a place for community engagement and outreach, a place with innovative laboratories and where undergraduate and graduate research opportunities develop. What else? So it'll house exceptional research laboratories, and this will just build on, the U of L's being a destination university. Sorry, if you want more information, just go to the website there, and you can see all sorts of information from when it started and where it currently is sitting right now. Okay. So also, we want to help you thrive while you're a student in your graduate studies. So the Thrive Professional Skills Program for graduate students provides optional opportunities for you to develop competencies across the graduate student life cycle that complement your program curriculum. These competencies include teaching, researching, career, personal, and professional skills. The program not only provides you with skills to be successful in your graduate program, it'll help develop transferable skills and gain a competitive advantage when you're out there at the end of your program, depending what you're going to do. So today at 11:30 in L1050, Stacey Levitt will be doing a presentation to further discuss the Thrive program, so we encourage you to go and check it out. Okay, now moving on to the application process. So what we like to encourage you to do is to think ahead, plan backwards. So the first question you're going to ask yourself is, what is the deadline? How much time do I have from now and to the deadline? Can I make it to the deadline? And if you're an international student, you will also need to ask, will you require a visa? Most international students will. Step 2, what are the admission requirements? So get to know the program that you're seeking and the admission requirements that are necessary to apply for the program. Do you have an undergraduate degree from an institution at uLethbridge if you're applying for a master's program? Or do you have a master's degree from another recognized institution if you're applying for a PhD program? Do you meet the AGPA? Does anybody know what AGPA is? Admission GPA? If you're applying for a master's, a lot of undergrads have the idea that the admission GPA is their final GPA that they've achieved at the end of their undergrad program. That's not the case. It's their 20 last graded courses, so that is your admission GPA. Will you be able to satisfy the English language proficiency requirement? So if you can answer most of those questions in a positive way, then you can move on and ask yourself, have I secured a supervisor? All right. Step 4, plan for gathering your application documents. So it takes a bit of time in securing a supervisor. Some happen really quickly, some takes a little bit more time. So in the midst, while you're doing that, it's a good idea to start gathering up your documents, okay? So 3 references. I'll get to a little bit more in detail what those look like. You will need your unofficial and your official transcripts, and a CV, and a letter of intent. So you should be looking at developing those, taking the time to write the content of those documents, like your CV and your letter of intent, really well. Step 5 is then finally you can begin the application process. In order to apply, we use an online service, application process, pardon me, that you can get to from this website right here. However, there are several links on the SGS website that are available under the Apply Now that can also assist you. Okay. All right, so what are the academic qualifications? Well, these are general qualifications. Some are a little bit more specific depending on the program that you will be applying for. However, if you are entering into a master's program, 4-year bachelor degree, okay, one qualification. You also need a GPA, an AGPA, pardon me, of 3.0 out of the 4.0 scale, as I mentioned on the last 20 graded university level semester courses, and proof of your English language proficiency. If you're applying for a PhD program, qualifications, master's degree, a minimum of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale, depending on the program, again, that you're applying for, and proof of your English language proficiency. As noted here, the Cultural, Social, Political Thought program and the education majors for PhD require a higher admission GPA. Okay. In our graduate programs, students, you have the option of completing your program either full-time or part-time capacity. Full-time master's students complete a 2-year program, while part-time master's students complete a 4-year program. Master's students normally will complete all of the required coursework in the first half of the program, which leaves the remaining half to build up and complete the production of your thesis. Okay. All right, so ELP for graduate students, the English language proficiency. So there's a number of ways to address the requirement for ELP. If you've completed a degree previous at a Canadian university, you've met the requirement. However, if you're an international student, there's a number of ways to meet the requirement, one being that you can complete a number of tests, such as the TOEFL or the IELTS test. Or you could also complete the English for Academic Purposes program with before starting your graduate program. All right. If you are an international student and are taking the TOEFL test, please note that we will no longer be accepting the paper-based TOEFLs after October 14th of this year. One of the questions that we often get from applicants is if they can submit their application before receiving their test results, as I mentioned, either through a number of different testing agencies. The answer is yes, you can submit your application, but however, you may receive conditional acceptance to your program, anticipating that you will eventually, before you start, meet the ELP requirement. Okay, so finding a supervisor. I have to stress, this is super, super important. It's very, very key that you secure a supervisor, I would say, prior to applying for your program. Because the thesis forms the central requirement for our graduate programs and involves close collaboration between the supervisor and the student, it is really necessary that as a candidate that you establish contact with the supervisor as soon as possible prior to submitting your application online. So what we've developed on our Future Students website is a very useful webpage on securing a supervisor. So you can see the screenshot here. allows you to select any faculty, any discipline, and any of the departments. And we have disciplines up there because that allows for those programs who aren't specific to a discipline to look at a variety of disciplines that are available to them. Okay? So the way to contact a faculty member is to complete this form and obviously you can review their profile pages. Okay. So you'll need to contact and secure a supervisor, as I mentioned, who has agreed to supervise your studies if you would like to have your application be formally considered for admission. So it's not just a matter of asking them, hey, can you supervise me? It's actually them saying, yes, I can supervise you, okay? So that needs to be established at the outset. So some guidelines that you might find available to help with contacting a potential supervisor is first familiarize yourself with their work. And you can do this by viewing their profiles, as I mentioned, online and reading. I would suggest reading a couple, if not more, of their publications. When filling out the contact form, indicate your awareness of their research and how it fits particularly with your interests, whether it's specific or you can refer to their publications. Let them know your intentions to apply to a relevant graduate program and your intentions in working with them collaboratively. Tell them a couple of strong points about your background and your work on research projects if it applies. And then you can ask them if it's okay to list him or her as a prospective supervisor in your application. Okay. So as mentioned before, documentation for your application. So you'll need evidence again of your ELP. You will also need unofficial and official academic transcripts. The unofficial transcripts are the ones that you can upload into the application online. The official ones are the ones that you will need to request your institution to send to the registrar's office here at uLethbridge. So it's kind of like comes in a sealed envelope. You can't touch it. Only the registrar's office can touch it. You will need your 3 letters of reference. And for your references, your referees should be able to speak about your ability and aptitude for graduate studies. So they should be there to say, again, to I guess, support you in that, but also to quantify your abilities to be successful in your graduate program. You'll also need a curriculum vitae, CV, and your letter of intent. Now, your letter of intent is your opportunity to pretty much let yourself shine, okay? So it's your opportunity to provide evidence of your strong foundational knowledge in your chosen area. So you should also, in your letter of intent, include reasons, goals, or objectives for seeking graduate studies, graduate degree in your chosen discipline. Okay. These are things, these documents are what our committees review when deciding which applicants will be considered for admission. So if you have referees that are giving you outstanding references, if you yourself give yourself an outstanding reference in your letter of intent, that will only benefit in your success in being admitted to the program. Okay, so transcripts. Again, unofficial transcripts you'll need to upload, submit them in your online application. Official transcripts, again, you'll need to arrange for those to be sent to the registrar's office, and they must be received prior to course registration, okay? If you're currently completing courses or intend to complete additional courses prior to your intended start date in a grad program, you'll need to note those courses in your online application. For your official transcripts, okay. Again, they must be mailed directly to the registrar's office. Okay, letters of reference. So as noted, you'll need 3 references, so 3 individual referees. For some programs, these 3 references could be a little bit different. So for example, Master of Arts, Master of Science programs, of your 3 references, 2 of them must be academic in nature. So if you've had a professor that you've worked with closely of that sort, that can testify to your academic history. And for PhD students, the 3 references have to be academic in nature, in which you must have studied with at least one of those referees. So in the online application, you will need to enter their information, their contact information, so their name and their email address. And obviously, these individuals will know that you're asking them to be a reference. And then they will be sent an email asking them to submit their support, their documentation, to your online application. So you don't actually get to see what they've written about you. Okay. However, if you wanted to see the status of your, oops, go back here. If you wanted to see the status of your references, you can actually do that when you log back into your online application. So you can see here, these are the 3 references, and one of them is in progress, and 2 of them have not started yet. So this allows you to check in every now and then to see if they've completed them or not. Okay, so depending on the program to which you're applying to, up to 3 academic letters of references may be required. So you can see on the table here, this kind of explains who is an acceptable academic referee depending on your situation. So for example, if you are working and completed a degree several years ago, then an academic referee could be someone who's studied at the university level, from whom you've studied, and a letter from your employer or another person who can testify to your ability to be successful in your academic pursuits. So the School of Grad Studies, the SGS, is not able to accept letters of references submitted via email or through regular mail. We also will not accept letters of references that were used in a previous application. So if you're starting a new application, you need, again, 3 different letters of references. We are not able to edit or change your referees or send them reminders to submit their letter of references. Or we're not able to accept letters of references from a friend or a family member. All right, moving on to your curriculum vitae, so your CV. Again, this is one way to demonstrate all sorts of things about who you are. Your CV should be a comprehensive document with formal structure and an academic focus. It should include these items here. So your academic background, conferences, your work experience, awards, scholarships, publications, and other achievements that are pertinent to your application. If you're a current or former uLethbridge student, you can contact the Career and Employment Services Center for additional information on how to structure your CV. Okay, next document, your letter of intent. So this is a vital piece of your application. Our reviewers, the committee who reviews all applications, look for applicants that clearly understand the research focus of their chosen program. So this is your opportunity to provide evidence of your strong foundational knowledge in your chosen area. So, your letter of intent should outline the reasons for wanting to enter a graduate program, especially here at uLethbridge. So if it aligns with your goals or objectives, that sort of thing. You should also be able to articulate how your academic and professional background has prepared you for this upcoming pursuit in your proposed studies. Okay. So it is your opportunity to show us your passion for your proposed research. You should be able to explain how dedicated and invested you are to your proposed graduate program. Your letter of intent should be concise. It should generally be no more than 1 page in length or up to 500 words. Our committees see a lot of applications. And if there's a 3-page document, that would take a lot of time to review for each applicant. So again, include only important and significant information. Again, our reviewers have a lot of applications to review. Be specific with your research interests. Provide information about your research interests and your previous research projects. If you're applying to a program where a supervisor is required as part of your application, explain why you're interested in your supervisor's research. Okay. Okay. So if you have any further questions regarding the application process, academic requirements, these are the program advising offices that could answer your questions pertaining to your program of interest. One thing I forgot to mention was when we discussed supervisors and obtaining a supervisor, not all programs require obtaining a supervisor. For our MA in economics, that program is cohort-based, so they obtain their supervisor once they've begun their program. So just wanted to quickly mention that. Okay, moving on to our next half of the presentation is our funding opportunities. So this is just a list of available opportunities out there for all graduate students to pursue. You know, all the way from fellowships, scholarships, and bursaries to volunteer organizations that you may have in the past volunteered with. So this list just gives you an idea of where to look for additional funding. You should also speak with your supervisor, your departmental graduate advisor, and your peers about the various awards that are open to students in your particular field of study. It's up to you to know what scholarships and awards that are out there for you to apply to. Okay. There's so many resources that are available to you, it just takes time to read them and to go through them. It only does take a few minutes, but it could put you on the path to receiving some more additional funding. So make it a habit to review the newsletter. We put out a funding newsletter monthly from the School of Grad Studies that outlines all of the upcoming funding opportunities. So make sure you check that every quite regularly, because we would hate for you to miss out on a research opportunity that you could have applied for. Okay. On our website, we also have our funding and fees page. So at the top, you'll see our funding and fees menu. Just click on that, and then on the left-hand menu, award opportunities. And there is a list of all the award opportunities that are available to graduate students. Now, some of these awards, admission awards, for example, require no application. It's pretty much based on your application for admission. And so, therefore, based on your entrance GPA as well. For example, this Dean Scholarship, which is a $10,000 award. And then we also have tuition awards. Those numbers for the tuition awards just demonstrate for international students and domestic students the difference in first year and in your subsequent year. However, some awards do require an application. So it says here requires a research proposal and reference letters. And some awards do require you to have a certain GPA and research potential as well. So once you find something you like and you think you can apply for, be wary of the deadline. Review the agency's specific program guidelines. If you're unsure about your eligibility, consult the agency's website if you're not quite sure. And if that doesn't work, then you can come and see our awards advisor, Deirdre Coburn, and she can further help you in finding if you're eligible or not. So find out when the deadline is and give yourself plenty of time. Reviewers can spot a rush job on an application. Make sure that your application and all supporting documents are received before the competition deadline. Okay? Remember, it's your responsibility for ordering your transcripts if they're required and arranging your reference letters. And then some other guidelines here as well, noted on the slide. Yeah, don't use colored paper. Okay, so tips for writing your application. Be clear and concise. Again, it all comes to planning early for applying for an award. Some awards have deadlines that are in the fall, and so preparing an award does take time. So remember that the selection committee members may not have specialized knowledge of your particular area of research, so you will need to convey exactly what answers to these questions when you're applying for an award. Okay. All right. So that concludes our presentation this morning. If you have particular questions, we'll do our best to answer them in reference to awards and scholarships. However, Deirdre Coburn is our graduate awards advisor, and you can contact her directly through sgs.awards@uleth, or there's an inquiry form on the website that I showed you with the awards listed. And she is more than happy to answer your very specific questions pertaining to funding. So that's all I have for you today, and I guess we'll move into the question and answer period. So I'll leave it out to you if there's any questions that you would like to ask. Yes? Go back one slide. This one here? Okay. Yes, question?
For the 3-letter references when you're applying for the master's, can you use your
don't believe so. Can they?
That one.
What's that?
Can I
Yes, please, yes. So the question was if, with 3 letters of references, if the one referee could be the upcoming potential supervisor.
So for most programs, you have 3 letters of reference that are required, but your supervisor also has to submit a letter of support. And they're not necessarily the same letter, so your supervisor in that letter of support is saying, yes, I'm available, and yes, I'll supervise. But your supervisor might not actually have a lot of insight into your past academic background. You may not have worked with them before. So the answer to the question is the letter could serve a dual purpose, but it has to be made very clear. So your supervisor could say, this letter is both my letter of support and also a letter of reference for this student. Yep.
Great, thank you. Question, yes?
Yeah, so you said the minimum GPA is about 3.0.
That's right.
What's the average GPA of the applicants that get into the program?
Well, the minimum requirement must be met to be admitted into the program. So so the average, gosh, I don't know. Would you know?
For those who don't know me, I'm Robert Wood. I'm the Dean of Graduate Studies, so I serve on all the program committees and ultimately liaise in every application. So we don't track averages. You know, again, the admission standard, it varies, but normally it's a 3.0 for most programs. But I can tell you anecdotally, just having a 3.0 doesn't guarantee admission. So there are programs that have quotas, and so the higher the GPA, the better. In past program reviews, I can tell you that often what we see is that 3.4, 3.5 is a modal kind of GPA. So those mid-3s, I think, are what you should be aiming for as an average. But we do see lots of students with admission GPAs of 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, all the way up to 4.0 in some cases. Is that a sufficient answer?
Kind of, just because if you look at like other, like I would say the U of A and like they'll show you per year, like like the average GPA of the students kind of thing that got in. Like I'm interested in the psychology program, so they'll say like 2015, how many applicants, everything. So could you say an average GPA, or you guys just don't track that at all?
At this point, we don't. So I mean, we are looking at whether we should be tracking that and reporting it. I mean, I can see how from an applicant standpoint that can be very helpful, actually.
Thanks, thank you. Next question?
Have you seen successful applicants with just a 3.0?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, sorry to, if I could add one more piece. So, yes, we've seen lots of people successfully gain admission with a 3.0. Where the 3.0 will be less successful is around the adjudication for funding. So, most grad students do receive some funding, but the higher levels of funding often will not be awarded to students with a 3.0.
Great, thanks. Yes, question back?
I just had a question about the admission GPA as well. You said it was based on your last 20 credits from your undergrad. Since my undergrad, I've also done like a diploma and a specialization certificate through a university. Is that part of that? Is it your last 20 credits of university courses, period, or just your undergrad degree?
I think it's the last 20 most recent completed undergrad courses, if I got that right, yeah.
It wasn't part of a degree.
Yeah. Question?
So can you explain the English language proficiency thing again? Like, I'm always confused about whether I need to do a test or if I am already okay or, yeah.
Okay. Jamie, can you address that one?
Yeah, I guess in terms of English language proficiency, if your first language is English or you studied at an institution that is delivering a program primarily in the English language, then those are the biggest criteria. However, for international students or people who English is not their first language, then there are the tests that Viviana had mentioned, the IELTS or the TOEFL. Those are 2 examples of exams that can be completed that actually just demonstrate your proficiency in the English language. But yeah, I don't know if that helps answer your question. But
so if like English is your first language, then that's
exactly
Oh, yeah.
it. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Question?
I haven't made my way completely through the application process, but as far as transcripts go, if I am a U of L alumni
Your unofficial transcripts should still be uploaded into the online application. If you're a uLeth alumni, obviously the registrar's office can just access your documents internally. So, I mean, that's that kind of, yeah. But I think you still need to upload your unofficial